Good morning, friends, and welcome to Wake Up in the Word, coming to you from Winsboro, South Carolina. I'm Dr. Craig Bailey. Thanks for joining in this morning. Turn to Genesis not Genesis, Exodus chapter 20, and let's look at the second of the 10 commandments this morning. I'm doing a series on those in church on Sundays, only 3 messages, but I'm getting into each one of these specifically on any given day. Now, while you're turning there, Genesis chapter 20, I do want to say thank you to the person that did drop me a note about their preference of Bible translations. I'll be reading out of the Christian Standard Bible, as I do most mornings, because it is just the best right now and most effective English translation out there. And no, I don't think the King James translation is the best. There are some really great things about the King James. I enjoy reading it, but I'm sorry, I'm not one of those folks who buys into that idea that there is something so unique and special about it that you shouldn't have any other translations to clarify the scripture. So, folks, if you're one of those King James only people, I'm not going to make you real happy, because I'll never, and I haven't from the time I started Wake Up in the Word, I never start with the King James except in rare occasions, sometimes referring to it when there's one of those translations that's a little bit off. And sometimes that's the case with the King James. So you're not going to be happy with me. I'm sorry, but that's who I am. So out of the Christian Standard Bible this morning from Exodus chapter 20, we are looking at the second commandment. The first one was powerful enough. It was saying to a group of people that had experienced Egypt, where this idea of multiple gods, all kinds of deities, was put right in front of their face all the time, to say, no, there is one God. It's me, the Jehovah God that has brought you up out of Egypt. I'm the only one. You worship me and have no other gods before me. Then he starts in the very next verse to say, do not make an idol for yourself, whether in the shape of anything in the heavens above, or the earth below, or in the waters under the earth. Do not bow and worship to them, and do not serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the fathers in iniquity to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing faithful love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commands. So it's interesting that he adds this contrast of curse and blessing to this second command, the one about idolatry. And this is one that the Hebrews had some of the most problems with down through their history. Now, why do you not want to have some kind of image? I mean, oh my goodness, if I'm going to worship God, it's nice for me to have something in my hand that I can touch, I can feel, I can look at and think this is God. Folks, there's a big difference in you having a cross that hangs around your neck, or some kind of picture hanging in your study or in your living room, than big difference in just having something like that and bowing before it as an idol and worshiping. And so please grasp the difference. No, I don't think it's a sin to have pictures of godly saints and other things, little statues around, as long as they don't become idols that you worship. Don't make these graven images to worship. That's what the pagans did. And that was part of the problem that was going on in Egypt itself. These images that made you think about who or what God actually is, which in every single case would have to be less than the reality of a creator God like Jehovah. Now, I love the Baker Study Bible note on this, because it really brings into a sharp focus the reason for this commandment about not making any idols or graven images. And again, it's not just about those pagan images. It's about making an image of God himself, of the God we know is really our creator. Listen to what it says. The restriction is comprehensive, from the heavenly bodies to the creatures in the sea. The people are easily tempted to attribute power to these various objects. An idol is the means of capturing that power and using it. It reduces God to something that could be managed for the self-satisfaction of the one who fashions the idol. Now, we saw this happen in the history of the Israelites over and over. Probably the most grotesque example of that was in Moloch, the god who would be fashioned as sitting there with his arms out, and you would come and offer your children as a sacrifice to this God. Beneath it, a fire was kindled, and this idol would be red hot, so that as you laid your children in the arms of this so called God, they would, of course, scream and cry in agony until they died. And this was a way to offer your children in sacrifice to this God. Over and over again, God said, don't do that. You would think it's obvious to people that you shouldn't do that. But no, the Israelites fell into that trap over and over again because it's demonically inspired. It's something satanic in its origins. Is it no wonder that even today we fashioned brand new idols? They might not have the same physical appearance, but we sacrifice our children to all kinds of idolatrous forms of worship. And I'll stop right there because you can fill in all the rest of those blanks. And as you look at this, we find that it's something that humanity falls into over and over again. There is the creator who deserves worship. There is the creation that should never be an object of worship. We are still to be good stewards of our creation, but we aren't to worship it. There's a big difference. Paul pointed this out in Romans chapter 1 when he said that generation that has gone so far away from God that God is giving up on them and allowing them to fall into the judgment they deserve is one of the key points that separates them from others is the fact that they worship the creation rather than the creator. Big difference. And so God's telling us here, don't make a picture, an image, or anything else that really draws your worship to say, oh, this is the creator. This is what, I mean, listen, you're free. You can go out and pick up a pine cone in your yard and say, this is God. Oh, I'm going to worship it. Is it smart? No, it's stupid. So you don't do that. Now you say, well, wait a minute. I fashioned something that looks a whole lot better than the pine cone. What's the difference? Moses would shortly after receiving the Ten Commandments come down to find the children of Israel at the feet of a golden calf worshiping. It was amazing how little time it took for them to fall into the practices of paganism that they had left in Egypt. Friends, let's not fall into the same trap. Let's keep this second commandment close to our hearts. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. We'll do this again tomorrow, going through the 10 Commandments right here on Wake Up in the Word. Invite a friend, join us, and let's think about it each and every day so that we can follow the laws that God gave us to keep our society together. I think it'll make a big difference, don't you? God bless you. I'll see you again right here tomorrow as we wake up in the Word.